Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you all. So we're coming back to Swordsoul Tenyi, which has been performing pretty well for both myself and it seems a lot of other people here in this current meta. Going off what I've experienced with and against the deck so far, I'd say that I am pretty confident in my earlier evaluation of Swordsoul Tenyi being the top of tier 2. It really does, like, you know, I'm not a big believer in the existence of, like, tier 1.5 or 2.5. Like, no. I think that's, like, getting too convoluted, but if there were a tier 1.5, it's where I would put Swordsoul Tenyi. Like, it's very much on the cusp, and kind of like I talked about in my tier list for this season, I really do think that Swordsoul is kind of like the gatekeeper for tier 1, in that if you want to be a tier 1 deck in this meta, I think you've got to be a consistently better performing deck than Swordsoul. That is to say, there's not really many that are better performing than Swordsoul. The deck is still very efficient at what it does, what it's always done, except for when it, you know, did Hulk Auroradon stuff, or not Auroradon, but Halki Fibrax plays, but we were far removed from that time. But in any case, yeah, the deck is still performing very, very well, and especially in a meta like this, where it really pays to be able to play a lot of different flexible tech options, Swordsoul is one of the decks that can accommodate that kind of stuff the most easily. I'm referring to stuff like Nibiru, of course, Valor, and Triple Tack, which I think are all insane in this meta, and pretty much I think any deck that can be playing these cards probably should be. We're not quite maxing out on Imperms. We're playing 2 Valor and 2 Imperm, because I like the flexibility of having the Valors as well, particularly in Swordsoul, where being a level 1 light tuner actually does matter for like the level 7 Tenyi monsters, or to go potentially into the level 9 Chao Fang Phantom of the Yang Zing, etc., etc. There are a few instances in which you can definitely use Valor for plays. Also, being a light monster can sometimes matter for the Archnemesis Protos as well. All in all, I think it is good to have that kind of like variety between the two there. I did also add Shthana back into the deck. Somebody pointed out last time that I was playing the Heavenly Dragon Circles without the Shthana, which I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about Shthana. That said, I think the Heavenly Dragon Circle is still fine if you're not playing Shthana. Like, I don't think you need it to be playing the Heavenly Dragon Circle. This card still has a lot of other applications, namely being able to search the Protos, which I really like. And also, if you can actually manage to resolve this graveyard effect, it's insane. You probably just win that turn. But the Shthana is still very good, of course, to have with the Heavenly Circle. For those who don't know, if you are playing, it doesn't have to be Shthana, but any of the level 4 Tenyi monsters, you can use the Heavenly Dragon Circle to dodge an effect negation on, like, Mo Ye. For example, if you normal summon Mo Ye and your opponent activates Imperm, you can use the Heavenly Dragon Circle, sack the Mo Ye to add the Shthana. What that will do is, excuse me, because the Mo Ye is no longer on the field, the Imperm won't negate it, so you'll still summon your Swordsoul token, and then you'll add the Shthana. Then, at that point, you only have your Swordsoul token on the field, so you can special your Shthana. You now have the level 4 tuner and the level 4 non-tuner, so you can still go into your Chi Xiao. You, of course, won't get an extra draw, but you'll still get a search and will be able to continue to make your plays, which is very nice. It's very good to have that option available. And again, the deck is so relatively wide open when it comes to space that I didn't really have any trouble fitting it in. I will say that I am playing 2 Ecclesia, and it seems like most people are on 3. And I did kind of, like, in order to play 2 Valor, the Shthana, the 2 Triple Attack, and the 2 Imperm, I did cut down on one of the Ecclesia, but I don't really see that big of a difference between 2 or 3. It's a little bit better going second, because obviously Ecclesia is going second if you've got 3, but I don't think it makes so much of a difference that, you know, I feel like I need the 3rd copy here. I don't know, I mean, like, I'm looking at the extra deck, that hasn't changed in forever. This slot with the Dragite is, like, pretty much a flex spot. I've, like, never summoned Dragite in this deck, pretty much ever. Which is probably just because I don't really play Swordsoul that much, honestly, but I think for, like, most, not casual, what's the word I'm looking for, realistic purposes, you won't summon Dragite that often. So if you don't have it, if you're looking for a cheaper option, you can definitely sub in another level 8 Synchro monster there. But yeah, again, I always end up saying this whenever I do a Swordsoul deck profile, but while it might seem like, oh, there's not much to say about Swordsoul, that doesn't, of course, discredit it as a deck at all. In fact, the fact that there's not really much different going on with this deck, but it's still performing so well, is just... I think it just is truly a testament to how good of a deck this is. So let's go ahead and break down this list card by card, and then we'll look at some gameplay. So we're on 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Tenyi Spirit Adhara, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom, and a Joyous Spring, 1 Tenyi Spirit Shthana, 3 Swordsoul of Mo Ye, 2 Swordsoul of Taia, 2 Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, 2 Swordsoul Strategist Longyuan, 2 Tenyi Spirit Vishuda, 3 Tenyi Spirit Ashuna, 1 Nibiru, the Primal being, 1 Archnemesis Protos, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 3 Swordsoul Emergence, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Cross Out Designator, 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle. Whoa, almost knocked over my water and bumped the mic there. Sorry about that. We have 2 Infinite Impermanences and then 1 Swordsoul Blackout. It's going to be our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Yazi Evil of the Zing, 1 Baxia Brightness of the Zing, 1 Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, 1 Adamancipator Risen Dragite, 2 Swordsoul Grandmaster Chi Xiao, 1 Xiao Fang Phantom of the Zing, 1 Baronne de Fluer, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, 1 Swordsoul Sinister Sovereign Qixing Longyuan, 1 Psychic Hand Punisher, 3 Monk of the Tenyi, and then 1 Shaman of the Tenyi. There is our list. Let's see some gameplay now. Alright, our first duel is going to be against Kashtira Punk, which kind of seems like one of the decks to beat in this format. I think this deck might actually be tier 2. We covered Bystial Punk. I am going to cover Kash Punk sometime in the near future here as well, but we're going to be going second. Totally fine with me because we opened Veiler and Ash Blossom. This hand's pretty awesome, actually. If Adhara were Maxx, this would probably be like the best possible going second hand. But again, Veiler and Ash Blossom should be enough to get us there. Opponent's going to start with a Foxy Tune. I'm going to Ash that, and my opponent is going to end their turn. I do find that against Punk, Foxy Tune tends to be the best Ash Blossom target. Even if your opponent activates E-Telly, what I'll usually do is I'll let them resolve E-Telly, right? I'll let them get the Xayamine, I'll let them activate the Xayamine, and then add the Foxy Tune, and then I'll Ash Blossom the Foxy Tune, because that means they've activated both Xayamine and Foxy Tune's effects, and that will make progressing for them a little bit more difficult. But with this hand, as I'm getting Maxx Seed, I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into the Baronne as soon as I can before getting to too many summons and or giving my opponent too many draws. Although I will say that I am relying a little bit here on... Oh, actually, no, I already have the Emergence in hand, right? So I'm actually not really relying on top decking anything at all here because I can just use the Emergence for the Protos here. Opponent's going to Ash Blossom the Emergence, however, so that's pretty rough. And this is actually why I ended up adding the second Emergence here, was just in case something like this happened, where even though I have the Baronne for the Ash Blossom, my opponent has an Imperm for the Baronne, which they did get quite a few draws off Maxx, so it does make sense this coming up here in this particular scenario. Still gonna battle, put them down to 1,000. If only I'd gotten like a Tenyi monster on the field, I could have had a Monk in play and finish them off. However, I will say I've got the monster negates of the Chi Xiao and the Veiler. Well, not anymore. Well, actually, I do still have the Chi Xiao and the Veiler. The Evenly, I gave up the Baronne and the Blackout. I was going to say I have the Blackout as well, but of course, the opponent's Evenly is going to force me to banish the Blackout. Banishing the Baron is a pretty easy pick here because, of course, I've already used the Omni Negate effect. I was mostly keeping it around on the board because nothing else out of the graveyard was any better. So mainly only losing Blackout here. But it's going to normal summon Xayamine and activate the Ogre Dance. So not going to fire off my monster effect negation just yet. I might not even use it against the Xayamine. It's just really going to depend on what my opponent does here. They actually don't end up even using the Xayamine effect. They're going to go summon the Deer Note by its own effect and go straight into the Jam Dragon Drive. Also not using Jam Dragon Drive's effect. Only using Deer Note to get back the Xayamine. Now, of course, they could go for a Pep here, and I think they actually do, yep. But thankfully, it's their main phase 2, which means it doesn't get an attack boost, and they don't get to battle with it. However, I will still have to out this monster that cannot be affected by activated card effects. So, I'm going to go ahead and use my Emergence to grab the Swordsoul Strategist Longyuan, and activate Longyuan's effect, summon it, and the token, and then after sinking the two of them, I'm going to go specifically into Qixing Longyuan, just in case this effect gets negated, but it doesn't, and the burn damage is going to end up being what finishes my opponent off. As far as getting around my opponent's second hand Punisher, oh, I don't really think there's a way I was going to do that, to be totally honest. Like, the difference in my opponent's life points was 7,000, and if I move to battle phase, Pep's going to shoot up to 10,500 attack, which means in order to lower my life, actually I could have done it because I just have to battle something that has more than 2,500 attack. If I had battled with Chi-Shao, I would have been at 300. Then Pep could have been affected by card effects. I would have had to have somehow summoned Chengying and also get the banish during the battle phase in order to win that turn. I could have gotten the banish outside of the battle phase, but I don't know, it just would have been really convoluted. But regardless, because the opponent was at 1,000, we got to win with Longyuan's burn effect, which I don't know that I've ever actually won. I probably have at some point, like, won a duel with that effect. It's kind of neat. In any case, let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel here. Alright, so now I'm going to be playing against everybody's favorite deck in the world to play against, and that's Stun. I actually don't encounter Stun that often, honestly. The only time I really encounter it is like at Diamond 5 or Master 5s, usually, specifically. But I'm going to go second against Stun. Nobody likes that, especially when they summon Barrier Statue of the Torrent, and also drop down a Clockwork Knight, which this feels like a fuck you to my deck, like Swordsoul specifically. I don't know, maybe there are other decks. I'm sure there are other decks in the meta that are affected by this that, you know, need the extra deck monsters to have specific monster types to summon them. But yeah, here I'm not going to be able to get out Chi-Shao or anything that needs a worm monster specifically because all my things are going to be machines. I can also only summon water monsters anyway, but as we go to the next turn, I'm going to rip Imperm off the top of my deck, because I'm the best player in the world, and use that to negate the Barrier Statue of the Torrent. That's going to allow me to summon Longyuan, discarding the Vishuda. But, ah, my god, before I can even activate the Vishuda effect, my opponent's got Super Poly to summon Garura by fusing the Barrier Statue of the Torrent with my Swordsoul token. So, I will say this much, though, at least the Barrier Statue's gone. You know, even beyond this turn. Gonna be using Taia, but my opponent's got a Dogmatica Punishment. I was actually about to lower the level because I was about to go for Yazi, Evolve the Yang Zing. And then the idea was that I was gonna use Yazi to pop itself, and I think you can pop any card, not just face-up cards, right? Let me double-check Yazi real quick. One card. So I was gonna pop my opponent, either my opponent's remaining back row or the, but the Clockwork Knight, hang on. Does this need... No, it's generic. Okay, it is generic. That's what I thought. So yeah, I could have popped either the back row or the Clockwork Knight, and then searched Mo Ye for my... Oh, but you know what? I don't have anything to reveal off Mo Ye, so... Oh, but you know what? I could have also... oh my god, there's so many things that could have happened there. But whatever. Anyway, opponent's going to use the Dogmatica... Wait, no, they're going to use the Titanic Cloud. They sent off a Dogmatica Punishment to get the Ecclesia, and then add another Dogmatica Punishment. Summon another Ecclesia. I'm going to Valor this just because, like, I don't really think I'm going to get too many more opportunities to actually use Valor in this game. I will say Valor is definitely far worse against Stun than Imperm, just because, you know, you want to be negating your opponent's floodgates during your turn, not during their turn. Gonna get hit for 4k by this Garura here, but I do have the Ecclesia in hand, and I do have the ability to special summon, which is good. That's not something you always get against stun decks. Opponent is going to use their remaining punishment against my Vishuda as soon as it's summoned, but thankfully I still get to use Ecclesia, and I do have a remaining Taia in my deck, so I'm going to use Taia, banish Longyuan, get my Swordsoul token, use Vishuda, finally get this Clockwork Knight off the field, which means I'll finally be able to Synchro Summon for Chi-Shao, instead of having to only go for generic stuff, because all my monsters were machines. So, I'm going to be activating both Chi-Shao and Taia. I, of course, know that my opponent does not have any disruptions in hand, because, well, that card in hand is Clockwork Knight. So, I'm going to be adding Swordsoul Emergence here for Protos. Now, here's the thing. With Protos, I actually really thought about this, like, using the effect. Because here's the thing, I could call Light, I'd lose my Chi-Shao, but I'd also get rid of both Ecclesias, and then just battle over the Garura here. Or I could call Dark, it would destroy the Garura, but I wouldn't be able, my opponent would still have an Ecclesia left over. I'm ultimately going to call Dark because I think I value the monster effect negation, and just Chi-Shao's presence on the board in general here, a little bit higher, even if it can't destroy the Ecclesia in battle. Because here's the thing about stun, right? They're really good about keeping you from doing anything, but once you've already done stuff, sometimes they don't have the easiest time in the world. Like, my opponent can throw down all the Necro Valleys and Clockwork Knights they want now, but now I've got Chi-Shao and Protos on the field. Like now things are looking way up. So I'm going to use Chi-Shao to banish the Ashuna from hand. That will negate the Ecclesia and allow it to battle over. The face down does end up being the Fossil Dino, which is pretty brutal, but thankfully the Protos cannot be destroyed by card effects, so it is going to remain on the field. At this point, both opponent and I are in top deck mode, but I having the Protoss on the field I think is definitely bigger than my opponent having Clockwork Knight or Necro Valley. Top decking an Ash Blossom is not even the worst top deck at all here, because if my opponent top decks like a Pot of Extravagance or Prosperity or something like that, then I can just go ahead and negate it. They're going to end up setting a card and then passing. So I'm going to draw and activate Ash Blossom. Opponent's going to flip up. There can be only one during the drop phase. I'm going to go ahead and battle with the Protoss. I decided to set one of the Ash Blossoms here, which might have actually been a misplay. It might have been better just to keep it in case my opponent had an answer, and then also try to do like Heart of Demise or something. I don't know, but they're going to try to use the Nadir Servant, but I am definitely just going to go ahead and negate that. And they concede knowing full well that I can just battle into them with Protos during the next turn. So holy moly, that was an 11-turn duel. The duels that get stunned often tend to be long. But if you can persevere, I find them a lot more winnable than a lot of people make them out to be. Some people kind of treat getting queued against stun as an auto loss. And one, if you go first against stun, you usually have nothing to worry about. But two, here, we even went second. And, you know, we were still able to push through their, because they had both the Torrent and the Clockwork Knight, and they still had the Punishment and the Super Poly to follow up, so it was a lot. It was kind of brutal to play through with that all, but we managed to do it. We managed to come out on top, so yay. Alright, let's go take a look at our next game here. This next game is going to be against, it seems to be a going second Sprite. I say that because they're main decking 3 Dark Holes, as well as Raigekis too, so they definitely seemed more focused on going second. I don't remember if I actually won or lost the coin flip here, but this hand's okay. I mean, we've got plays. We have a Taia plus Ashuna, and we do have a triple tack in case something like this happens, in case our opponent decides to drop a maximum C on us. I'm just going to go ahead and fire off the triple tack and look at my opponent's hand to see what's going on here. Put back the Nimble Beaver. The remainder of their hand is 2 Sprite Carrots, a Feather Duster, and a Lightning Storm. I'm going to fire off Maxi during the draw phase, and I'm feeling pretty good because I know the Feather Duster and the Lightning Storm can't do anything against me, but my opponent actually ripped the Beaver off the top of the deck again. How good are they? You have to be pretty good at Yu-Gi-Oh! To rip the same card just got put back with triple tack. I gotta say, no, I mean, you know, it's variance, it happens. So the opponent is going to be making plays. They do end up giving me a lot of draws off the Maxx C here, but with the Gigantic, I'm not going to be able to do much with Nibiru, even if I draw it. Also, because I have the Ashuna on the field, I wasn't able to use this Imperm at all, which would have been very nice. Although, to be fair, my opponent also had the Carrot anyway, so I don't think it actually probably mattered in the long run. Alright, so they're going for the Elf here, getting back the Jet. They had the Gamma Burst in hand, and that's pretty much just going to do it, right? So I will say that we do have the Imperm here, but unfortunately my opponent did actually put the Gigantic in the right zone, and if they had not had the target protection on the Gigantic, yeah, we would have lived that. We would have had 1,600 more life points, and we had 600 when the 1,800 attack Beaver attacked us, although did the blue attack? I don't remember, but I don't know. We might have lived in some worlds, but not in this one, unfortunately. But, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes your opponent just rips the Beaver, and or whatever other card you put back with triple attack, and there's not a whole lot you can do. But we do have one more duel to watch, so let's go and do it. And our final opponent is on none other than Bystial Sprite Synchro. They seem to be, I don't know, I'm assuming they're an OCG player because they have a name I don't understand. That's in a language I don't understand, I will say. So I'm assuming they're playing more off. I'm not going to be so presumptuous to be like, they're playing my deck, because, to be fair, that Bystial Sprite Synchro was a thing in the OCG way before I ever played it. But it's always cool to see this deck, is the moral of the story here. So we're going to be going second. We have an Ash Blossom, but they seem to have a lot more than just that. I actually thought I was just up against regular Sprite because of the way my opponent's like playing this turn out so far, but as they go to activate the Gigantic, that's when we're going to fire off the Ash Blossom, because that means they will not be able to access the rest of their engine. And although they were trying to activate Gigantic, so they probably just don't have the Synchro plays anyway, but yeah, it seems like they're just doing Sprite stuff here. I actually don't even know if I knew in the moment that I was playing against the Sprite Synchro deck, because yeah, they're just doing regular Sprite stuff here. The Branded Regained was a little bit odd, I will say that, but not the strangest thing in the world for pure Sprite, especially post-banless. So, my god, look at this hand. Like, this is such a good going second hand. The opponent is going to fire off a Maxx here, but they have so many cards on the board that I'm not particularly concerned about it. You know what, this also explains, because I remember playing this duel and being like, why did they just end on this board? Like, they didn't even go for an IP, but I was looking at their deck. I had to look at their deck list again. They might not even be playing, like, IP and the corresponding engines or I mean, targets for it and such. Which, I mean, hands like this are why I think you need to be playing IP and some combination of Nightmare Unicorn, Avermax, or Underworld Goddess in your Sprite Synchro deck. I think it's one of the strengths of that deck, is just the fact that you get to, you know, have basically like slightly subpar Sprite plays as your backup plan, is so cool. But anyway, now I'm gushing about that deck. I actually thought about maybe trying to summon a Pep here, but my life points are too much higher than my opponent's. But I could have potentially done it with the Ecclesia and the Vishuda. I'm gonna end up going for the Baxia here. Gonna use that to get rid of the Elf and the Gigantic. And then I'm going to use the Taia to dump off the Adhara. This is going to ultimately allow me to use Mo Ye here, as I'm using Adhara to wheel the Qixing Longyuan, or just a regular Longyuan, back to my hand. Now Baxia is going to pop the Vishuda. I get to summon Mo Ye. Mo Ye reveal that Longyuan I just added. Opponent's going to Saronir banish the Vishuda to prevent the bounce. This is fine. I'm not super concerned about that. It's a little annoying, but definitely not the end of the world. Then I get to synchro the Mo Ye and the token for, of course, none other than the Swordsoul Grandmaster Qi Xiao. I get to... I actually did this in the wrong order because I was just so in the moment I didn't even think about it, but... Oh, no, I remember. I thought I'd already used Emergence this turn, which is why I did it in this order. I thought the Qi Xiao surge shouldn't matter at all. But then I realized that I hadn't used Emergence yet, so I was like, oh, wait, I just win this turn then, because yeah, now I just grab Protos and summon it and call Dark. I have no Darks on the field. 3 of my opponent's 4 monsters are Dark. So we just win from here, yeah. I think I even still have the Baron Omnigate if my opponent actually did end up having the Nibiru, but they don't, so yay. And there is our final duel there. So thank you all for watching these games. I do very much appreciate it, especially everyone who's watching all the way to the end like this. But let's go ahead and just move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There, for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.